And as the school year begins, make sure to watch out for those school zone speed cameras around. If you are caught speeding, you will get a ticket in the mail. However, some drivers have reached out to the KREM 2 Verify team asking if they actually have to pay that fine, since the cameras are operated by a third-party vendor and not in the city of Spokane. So Mark Hanrahan verifies.
The city leases the cameras from a third-party vendor, Arizona-based Vero Mobility, who also processes the violations that are sent to drivers. And KREM 2 viewer Sam asks, do you have to pay traffic light picture tickets that are billed from an out-of-state address? Our sources to verify this question are Washington State Law, the Spokane Police Department, and attorney Dean Chuang. To be clear, the cameras are perfectly legal under Washington law. RCW 4663-170 allows for the use of safety cameras in several areas, including at stoplights and in school zones. But since they're processed by a third-party out-of-state vendor, are you required to pay the ticket?
Yes, they are.
That's attorney Dean Chuang. In 2011, he successfully argued that tickets generated by red light and speed cameras were not valid because at the time, they were not first signed by an officer in Spokane before they were mailed to the driver.
So when you issue an infraction, you have to sign it under penalty of perjury, and that location of the signing actually has to be the actual place you were at. They were signing it out of Tucson, I believe, but the officer initiating the signature was actually in Spokane, so that was deemed invalid by Superior Court.
But following that ruling, SPD changed its process. Now each ticket is reviewed and signed electronically by an officer in Spokane before they're mailed out. Sergeant Teresa Fuller, who runs SPD's traffic division, says the courts have also since come to recognize electronic signatures as a valid way to sign tickets.
It's the same as a ticket I would hand you in person now. I don't even sign those. It's all electronic, and the court recognizes that as a feasible option for us.
Sergeant Fuller says no tax dollars are used for the cameras, and she adds they're an effective way for the city to reduce crashes and slow drivers down in school zones. She explains how the tickets are processed.
They do 95% of our work for us. They do the front end of the tickets, they handle all the data, they run the license plates for us, they make sure it's a good violation and that you're not being waved through by a police officer, or it's not one of us with our emergency lights on. They vet all of that, so by the time it lands on my officer's desk, he issues about 95% of the incidents that they send him.
She says think of the tickets like a parking violation. They don't go on your driving or employment record. So finally, what happens if you don't pay them?
And then if you don't pay that, they're going to treat it as a parking violation. And in the end, if it gets recorded to the Department of Licensing, you can't renew your registration.
So we can verify that even though red light and speed zone tickets are processed by a third-party out-of-state vendor, yes, you still have to pay them.